Good evening and welcome to JJ Wins here in Holiday City as the return. We all survived Snowmageddon a week ago. It's the return of Sports Weekly powered by Terry Hendricks Ford. And as we said, live at JJ Wins and also brought to you by Amerimade Realty, the main stops of Northwest Ohio and the Bryan Parks and Recreation Department. Kind of in a tweener period right now in terms of the shows. Didn't have one last week because of weather. Next couple of weeks, girls tournament game on Wednesday, boys tournament game 2 weeks from tonight. So a lot of tournament basketball. So after tonight, our next show won't be until that first Wednesday in March. But tonight we're going to talk tournament basketball a little later in the show. Leading things off right now, Montpelier boys basketball coach Nick Ramos. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, Andy. How are you tonight?
Thanks for being here with us. First of all, I guess for people that don't know your background, give us a little bit about Nick, where you graduated from and what led you to Montpelier.
Well, I graduated from Fayette in '94. I coached there in Fayette until 2013. I started in '07 as a junior high coach. Coached there until 2013. Came over to Montpelier then with Taylor Muehlfeld at first, was the varsity coach at that time. Came over with him as an 8th grade coach, and I sat varsity assistant with him, and been here ever since.
Stayed in that JV role under Justin Howell?
Yeah, stayed in that. Well, I had the 8th grade role. I had the junior high role here in Montpelier for one season, and then Mark Huffman was here in the JV role at the time, and it just so coincided that he was leaving, and I was able to get up there into the JV role after that first season. So I was there with Taylor for 3 years at the JV role, and then stayed with it for the 3 years with Justin as well.
So I guess talk a little bit about the opportunity now to become a varsity head coach. Has that been something that's always been on the radar? Is that something you've wanted to at least give a shot? Tell us how that all came about for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, this last time it came about, this season here, I was kind of in a different place than I was 3 years ago, and I didn't really know what I was going to do here. I knew I wanted to be in basketball in Montpelier. I knew that, but I didn't know at what capacity or at what they wanted me even, But it wasn't until later on in the season, or actually as the season moved forward, the off season, where we started to realize that maybe I was the best man for this job, and I asked if I could, I went to some administrators and asked them what they thought. And, and then they came back to me with, let's give it a shot. And so that's kind of where we're at.
What do you feel like you learned at all those other stops, whether it be at Fayette or Montpelier, whether it be junior high, JV, or varsity assistant, in preparing you for this job?
I think one of the biggest things I learned in all those places is good basketball. You can see good basketball when you see it right away. If you can tell if the ball's getting swung side to side, if the kids are pressing, they're pressing for their own shots, if they're not really moving their feet on defense. With Coach under Todd Mitchell in Fayette all them years, we were a very disciplined basketball team. I don't want to, but there's rules. You had rules, and when those rules break down, it's not necessarily good basketball. Kids, if one kid's doing one thing, the other four are doing the other, you're going to notice that right away. And the same thing, and with Todd, we was more of a controlled offense, more of, this is what we want, and when we get it, take it, whereas, and Taylor was kind of the same way. When I came over with Taylor, he was kind of the same way, so I kind of fit right in there. And then when Justin and John Watterson came over, Justin Houck came over in them last 3 years. Eric Stantz was also part of that. Those guys had a different philosophy where, we were more running and gunning and if you're open, shoot. If you get to the basket, shoot. And I learned a lot from them 3 years too, is, sometimes that is good basketball. If you can get your best player in a fast break and get him to the basket, you can get to the foul line. You can get, that will open up things for shooters outside the basket, or outside the 3-point line. And, from all those three stops, I learned a lot from all three varsity coaches I worked under.
Nick, how would you describe, I guess, your personality, your coaching personality, your coaching philosophy?
Positive. I try to get the most out of the kids, and And I've never been able to get more out of anybody by beating them down and telling them how bad you're doing. Nobody ever wants to hear that. Nobody ever wants to aspire to be better if you tell them how bad they are. So I kind of try and pump the kids up, keep them focused on the good aspects of what we're doing. But at the same time, you got to point out their mistakes so that we can learn from their mistakes. And once kids start figuring out that you're there to pump them up and to make them feel better about themselves and make them better basketball players, then you can really point out the mistakes that they're making and they buy it into it a little bit more.
So you get the job into the off season, preparing for this season. Did it make it easier? In a lot of ways, a lot of respects, in the fact that you've been in the system and absolutely. At some level you have had everybody in the program.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really has been the case. Like I said, I've been in Montpelier here since 2013, and most of these kids were in grade school. You know what I mean? So they all kind of know what I expect, and they all kind of know, actually, to be the seniors that graduated last year were sixth graders when I got here. You know what I mean? I coached them as sixth graders a little bit, and so everybody under that, they all know what Mr. Ramos, what Coach Ramos expects, and I kind of like that. So it was kind of easy transition, I think.
Let's talk about the season. I know not the way you hoped it had gone, or maybe even expected it to go. I guess tell me a little bit about this group and because we saw you, and you have 2 wins coming in. We saw one of those wins, but we've also seen other games where there have been flashes of really good basketball, but it hasn't been consistent enough or drawn out enough in that game to complete a game and get a win on other nights that we saw you. So as a coach, are you seeing, without the wins, are you seeing improvement out of this group throughout the course of the season?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've actually, our basketball is being played better. Our defense has really stepped up in this last part of the season. And even our offense struggles at times. We get kind of set on, one person having the ball. We kind of get set on this is what we want, this is what we're doing, and if that don't go, then we kind of have to step back and start over again. And we're kind of struggling with that aspect of it. But our defense has really been on point lately. Especially, I think these last few games we played some tough teams. And we had a tough Pettisville team that we held on to for 3 quarters. We had a lead, we won the first half, and that seems to be our MO, like you mentioned. We win the first half. We won the first half against a really tough Big Eden team. And like you said, we just can't hang on. But the thing that I keep telling the boys is focus on what we're doing well. And if we keep focusing on what we're doing well, those mental breakdowns we have, we're going to be better prepared to handle those when they happen if we focus on what we're doing well and not just keep focused on the bad things we're doing. If we make this mental breakdown here, if we don't rotate on our 2-3, if we don't rotate down in the right way, and we just a little step too late, those are all things that we can get better at, and we're on that. We are on that track, and how high school kids are.
Yeah, and I think a positive sign, a couple of examples you gave there, with most recently being the Pettisville game, which just was Monday of this week. That when you're sitting at 2-16,
right,
you have a lot of teams, kids. I've seen it at different schools that just bag it. It's over. It's time for spring sports. Let's move on. We're not going anywhere. But if you're still seeing effort and the want to come to practice and be there in the gym, that's got to be an extremely big positive.
And it really is. And that's. And I don't want to take credit for that. I think that's a lot of the boys believing in each other and believing in what we're doing. You know what I mean? What they're doing for each other. And we're really getting, I know we're this far into the season, but we're really getting along better now than we have at all, for the rest of the season. And a lot of the kids are starting to see that, the season's winding down, man. Maybe we waited a little bit too long, but we still got time. We still, we got 3 games that we can play this weekend. We got a good tournament game coming up, and we're really looking forward to opportunities.
Because it's very easy to get frustrated and to turn on each other.
Right.
That's easy. Losing does that.
Yep.
That's what makes fighting through a lot of that such a good thing to hear.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about maybe the makeup of this team. What's this group do well? What have been some X's and O's things that you haven't done so well this year?
Well, a lot of the things that we do well is lately we've been really playing together as a team. We've been moving the ball well. We've been looking to each other to score instead of just, one of the things I like to tell the boys is if you have to dribble the ball 4 times to score, it's probably not a good shot. If and if you have to catch that ball in the top of the key and you're driving through 2 or 3 players and you're jumping against 3 guys, that's probably not a good shot, and at times, and it's not just one player. We struggle with that as a team. You know what I mean? We just get in that moment where, okay, we've had 3 ball reversals. Coach Ramos says that if, after a ball reversal, I can attack. Well, maybe not after 3. How about 4? You know what I mean? I just want the boy, we struggle at finding the right time to attack the basket, if you know what I mean. And, one of the things, like I was saying, one of the things we're really getting really good at is our defense. We're really starting to communicate out of our zone. I really do like the zone. I know a lot of people want to go man to man and they want to do this and that, but this fits my team. This fits our team.
That's key right there.
You know what I mean? And I know it's hard. It's hard in the high school level, and I don't know how other coaches feel about this, but I feel as though it's hard to make the boys dictate what you want as a coach. It's easier for me to dictate, to give something that the boys can do. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so the boys, I feel that the boys were really moving well in the zone. They're starting to communicate. We're really starting to be more aggressive out of it as well. And I mean, I like it.
You this conference race this year, I know you're not in the middle of it, but boy, you're a part of it right now.
Yes.
You just played Pettisville, who has 1 loss. There's 3 teams with 1 loss. You're playing 2 of them here in this last week of the season, and have a chance to be play the role of that spoiler on Friday night against North Central. But I guess one of my points that I wanted to make is that this has been a season in the BBC this year where there has been talent all the way through. And you've seen quite a few close games. Even if, let's say, you were a 1-6 team in the conference, or 1-4, whatever it might be, and you're playing a 4-1, those games have been competitive.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of years that hasn't been the case.
Right. And especially like you said, we have a chance to play a very good North Central team who's given it a good run this year. I mean, and we had a good chance to knock off a number 1 team in the Pettisville on Monday. And as my team in particular, we look forward to those opportunities. We look forward to showing that we are still pushing forward and we are still, we're still trying to win these games. And I mean, with all due respect, we're trying to win, as much as we can, and we're giving as much effort as we can to do that.
So what's it been like throughout the program? What's the future for Montpelier look like? How has your JV team been? What about your junior high groups?
Okay, well, the JV team right now is
and numbers. Talk numbers.
We're 12 and I believe we're 12-6 as a JV group and 5-1 on the JV level in the BBC. So I'm not 100%. Me and Mr. Coach Fiddler were talking today a little bit, and we think that this Friday night game between the 2 JV teams might decide first place in BBC this year. I'm not 100% on that, but I think we might both be a 1-loss team.
Okay.
So that would go a long way to help the JV team, and that team is made up of mostly sophomores, and we did bring up one young freshman he played only JV, did real well for us this year. The JV team, I'm really impressed with the JV team. They give maximum effort. They really buy into what we've been doing as a staff. I mean, they get 2 or 3 ball reversals every possession. They run down from the scores 10, 8, 8, 7, 5,
so
6.
Good balance.
Yes, good balance on all the scores. And the junior high teams, we're struggling just a little bit, but there's pieces in there. You know what I mean? There's pieces in there that as we come up through the ranks, we put those pieces together, and then they'll make a whole puzzle. You know what I mean?
Numbers? What are the junior high numbers?
Now the junior high, they're not as many.
Do you have enough for 2 teams, 7th and 8th?
We did this year.
Okay.
Yeah, we did this year. We did have a little bit of grade trouble, but you'll have that.
I was going to say that's something to not take for granted.
Right.
You're hearing that story at a lot of different places.
Now, not to brag or nothing, but at our high school level, I think only 4 of my high school players were on honor roll this year.
Oh,
so I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're doing real well at the high school level, and our grades are really looking good. All of our boys, we put a lot of time into our grades.
Tournament matchup, a real nice opening round matchup for
yes,
you.
It's
Very
a team
competitive.
we know.
Talk about
it's
it.
It's a team we know, a team we're very close to. I mean, we're only
It's
3 miles down the road.
Yeah,
Yes,
Hilltop.
Yep, it is Hilltop. I'm sorry. But they beat us. You know, they beat us. We're 1-1 on the season, and they're a game team, and they look forward to beating us every time they come against us. I can see it in their eyes. They want to beat us. So it's just a matter of we'll be ready or not.
And then if you happen to get through, number 1 in the state.
Yes.
And Antwerp is there. And, I mean, that's one of those games where you can just play loose.
Yeah. And,
if you're fortunate enough to get through.
And we did get a chance to play Antwerp, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago on a Saturday. Oh, man, they're good.
They are good.
They're good. Yeah. But we enjoyed the opportunity to play them, you know. And when we went over there and played, they're good. We know they're good. We weren't scared. You know what I mean? We were there. We were there to play basketball. You know that. I mean, we played. And I thought we played well.
So I've had a lot of coaches on, and this is worth asking you and your opinion. It sounds as if it's a foregone conclusion. Somewhere down the line, we're going to see a shot clock at the high school level. I don't know what that year is going to be, but it's coming.
Yeah.
Everybody that we talk to and talk about and talk with say it's coming. 30 seconds, 35. I don't know what it's going to look like. Where do you land on that?
Well, I'd rather not have a shot clock personally. I like being able to control the basketball on the offensive end. I like being able to control the clock, and with a shot clock, it speeds everything up, and it really is a completely different game. I mean, the high school game we have now in Ohio. If you got a good offensive team and you can score 2 points and win the game, obviously that's never going to happen, But you agree it's coming. It's coming. Yeah, there's no doubt. Everybody wants it. I might be the only one that don't.
Yeah, no, there's been others that have, and they've had different reasoning for not wanting it.
Right.
So at North Central, at Ayersville, that's this weekend, and then you finish with Fairview on the 18th.
Yep, Fairview Senior Night at home.
Okay. And I know you just had a Hall of Fame night last weekend.
Yes,
I heard it was terrific, and a lot of people were able to come back and come out for that.
Yeah, it was.
Recognize. Yep. Montpelier does things first class, that's for sure. Thanks for being on with us, Nick. We wish you the best of luck and continued success, and keep plugging away at Montpelier.
All right. Thanks for having me, Andy. I appreciate it.
Nick Ramos, head coach of the Montpelier Locos, our first guest tonight. We're going to talk tournament basketball, dive into a little bit of the breakdown of what just went down on Saturday. I guess kind of a tournament preview show with my boys' broadcast partner on game nights, Adam Gubernath. He'll join me next here on Sports Weekly on a Wednesday on B-Rock.
The Bryan Parks and Recreation Department would like to wish the Bryan Golden Bears good luck in tonight's game. The Bryan Parks and Rec offers a wide variety of classes for you during the entire year and an array of sporting events all year long. Check out what the Bryan Parks and Recreations Department has going on at bryanparksandrec.com or like them on Facebook. The Bryan Parks and Rec hopes to see you in one of the many parks that Bryan has to offer and enjoy the facilities. Questions about the classes or rental of one of their facilities, call 633-6030.
I want to talk to you for the next 30 seconds about the place to go for your next vehicle. Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald. Whether it's a new vehicle for purchase, a lease vehicle, or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle, Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald is the place to turn. They also have this fantastic service department as well. Service after the sale. Terry Hendricks Ford, serving all of your vehicle needs in Northwest Ohio. Go to terryhendricksford.com.
It's Thirsty Thursday at all the main stops in Northwest Ohio. What does that mean? It means that every Thursday, all day long, you will get any size fountain drink or any size coffee for only 79 cents. All day long, every Thursday, any size fountain drink, any size coffee or cappuccino. Stop in to your main stop and see everything they have to offer every day. Main stops, always there when you need us.
When it comes to choosing a realtor to help you with your real estate needs, the only choice is the Amerimade Realty team. Serving 6 counties in Northwest Ohio, Amerimade continues to be one of the top companies year after year. With our award-winning service, commitment to each and every client's best interest, comprehensive marketing plan, and dedication to the people and communities around us, the Amerimade Realty team is the go-to choice in Northwest Ohio. When it's time for you to make your next move, call Amerimade Realty at 419-636-7653. That's 419-636-SOLD, or go to AmerimadeHomes.com.
All
All right, welcome back out here. We're back. Welcome back out here to, it's like being on the Merv Griffin set, right? Here, and we're back.
Hawk seat squirrels.
Where are the cameras? We are back and ready to talk basketball. I do want to remind people that are listening tonight that we will not be here for shows the next 2 Wednesdays. Next Wednesday night, it's girls tournament basketball, Division 4 in Paulding. They just played double overtime last night. Fayette beat Edgerton for their first win of the year. So that's our Wednesday game next week. And then 2 weeks from tonight, Adam and I will be in Bryan for Division 4, and that's Hicksville versus North Central in a rematch of a regular season game you and I did. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. There was a time when they wouldn't play games on Wednesdays or Sundays.
Yes. And that
Long time ago. We're dating ourselves already here, but those days
next thing you know, you're going to be talking about a bounce pass.
Yeah, well,
you can't do that.
I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
Kayla, shut that down. Actually, yes, for point of reference, 2 of my guests tonight that we're going to be on are playing each other tonight in a makeup game on a Wednesday night in Antwerp and Sonoma.
And I think we had a couple of Western Buckeye League teams that played a makeup game on this past Sunday.
Yes, I did. Yes.
So
well, and you're late in the year, you got to get them in, right?
At this stage, you run out. I mean, you're bound. You're pretty much falling on Wednesdays and Sundays.
So Division 4, I guess, is a good place to start. The Defiance District, we're going to be doing games in the Defiance District to nobody's surprise. Antwerp was the number 1 seed. I don't even think to very many people's surprise, except maybe the teams that were affected in the 3 and the 4 slot. Ayersville, you and I kind of thought all along they were the 2 in this district. That happened there. And then falling in line, you go 3 seed Toledo Christian and then 4 seed Emmanuel Christian. So, thoughts on the overall seeding? Did the coaches get it right?
Well, like we had talked with Matt Ripke last Saturday, I think people don't understand there's a lot more than just going there, slapping your record up on a line and saying, well, we're going to try to get the lowest number. You try to find matchups there. Quick side story, the first year I coached junior high basketball, the first tournament draw I ever went to, I went there with nothing, and another school that came with like 5 assistant coaches and papers. So I learned in a hurry that people, they really break this stuff down. I don't think there was any surprise. I thought, to be honest, they were fair. I don't know what you thought. I mean, I thought Ayersville was the clear number 2. I think Toledo Christian, very good basketball team. And I think what they've done in the past, I think, kind of helped them solidify that number 3 seed. The 4 seed's the wild card because you don't know who they're going to have and who they're not going to be having health-wise and everything. But I thought 1 through 4 wasn't any major surprises or anything.
Jerry Easter is who you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He broke his wrist. Allegedly, the timeline was 6 weeks. So that, if that's to be believed, and we have no reason not to, then he should be back for tournament time.
And you start asking the question, he's just a freshman, if I remember right.
Yes.
So do you rush him back for that game right away? He's got bigger things on the horizon than what he's going to do tournament-wise his freshman year, so that'll be interesting to see. But Ayersville's a team I think is going to be fun to watch. Very athletic. They have a little bit of size. I don't know how much depth they have. We'll get a good test, a good view of how good they are. They play Wayne Trace coming up on Friday. Leaders of the GMC. Antwerp will be very attentive to that one.
And Ayersville, because they still just have the 1 loss.
Yeah,
right?
Ayersville win. They could have a 3-way tie or a 2-way tie atop the GMC standings, coming off a big win last night for the Pilots over Fairview.
So the opening round matchups, we mentioned Montpelier plays Hilltop, and the winner gets the excitement of playing now number 1 in the state, not just number 1 seed, but now number 1 in the state in Antwerp. And as you look through those opening round games, I'll rattle them off, and I'm going to see if there's anyone that jumps out at you. Pettisville versus Fayette, Stryker versus Emmanuel Christian, Eden versus Edgerton. I know maybe where you're going there. Hicksville versus North Central, and then TC plays Holgate. What intrigues you the most in those Division 4 games?
Well, the 2 that really stand out, obviously, I think the most interesting matchup is going to be Hicksville North Central. We saw them over at Hicksville, about a month ago, on a Saturday night, on a night when North Central didn't shoot the ball very well. Hicksville did, and we've seen the North Central team kind of not shoot the ball well as of late, dig big holes early. So I think that's an interesting matchup, and from just a fan standpoint, how could you not want Eden Edgerton again? I mean, that was had a nice crowd. They were into it. I mean,
and it goes to another level when it's tournament.
Well, yeah, and then so those are the 2 games that really kind of stand out. The fun thing when you start seeing brackets and everything is you start penciling in potential matchups. I don't know about you. I don't really pick, but I like to see what you could have in the second round. I mean, the possibility for, Toledo Christian Hicksville in the second round, that might be something that would be interested, or North Central. I think the Hicksville North Central game is the one that really stands out to me.
If you're mentioning a second round game, we already saw the regular season. If Eden knocks Edgerton off, they get Ayersville again. And we talked in the Eden broadcast the other night that you and I both kind of stand in the same, regard here, that we feel like Eden's a team that is very capable of making noise. They play that postseason style, tournament style. They do it very well. Now, can they be consistent shot makers and protect the basketball? Because that's been some of their issues too, is in protecting leads. They've let a few not get away completely, but teams have creeped a little bit closer in games. But that's a style that can win games.
They bought in defensively. They're physical, and they rebound. So those are things that are always going to keep them in games. Matt's tournament record. So he knows what he's doing there. He'll have a good scouting report. That's a team like we talked about Saturday night. You don't want to get down early. If you get down 10-12 like North Central did, it just takes so much effort, so much energy to get back into it, because they get to play their way. If you can get them sped up a little bit, which is what you would think Ayersville, if they would match up with them in the second round, what they would want to do is try to speed them up. And we saw North Central at times in the second half speed Eden up a little bit, and they got themselves into a little trouble. Still no true point guard out there. But that's a team, there's a handful of, you look at the teams that you think could get out, there's about 3 or 4 that you just don't want to mess with. Eden's a team that I wouldn't want to mess with because of those reasons. They play defense, they're physical, and if they get a lead, they're hard to catch up with.
So the last point for this district is, and I wanted to save the best team in the district for last, it's Antwerp. They're number one. We've seen them a number of times. I'm going to see them again on Saturday night in another game against Eden. They played in the 49 Classic. So is it a foregone conclusion? Is this just the Antwerp district? And I don't know if I want to say cruise, but find their way out of this and back to a regional again?
Well, obviously.
What's it going to take to beat them?
Well, that's even a harder question, I think, to be honest out there. I think it's fair. I think if you look at it, I think everyone in the area would agree. It's Antwerp's district. Let's just be honest. I think there's a clear divide between them and then the next group, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a little bit. I think you'd be surprised maybe if they didn't get out. But does that mean they're going to know? What do you have to do to beat them? Well, you have to maybe catch them on a night when they're not shooting the ball very well. We've done them, a couple of times, and it seems like they've shot 60, 70%.
It's not been below 50 in any of the 4 we've done.
They just are they're deep, they're athletic, they can beat you inside, they can beat you outside, and they've probably got the district player of the year and maybe a candidate for, he's going to be first team All-State in Jagger Landers. We haven't seen... Trying to think the games we've done this year, I don't think I've seen anyone that can match up with him one-on-one.
No.
He's that big of a matchup problem. And that's what you can do. That's what separates a lot of these teams when you get into the tournament. You've done as many tournament games as anyone. In the first round, and even during the regular season and in the first round, you can overwhelm a team. If you've got, we're deeper than them. We're just going to wear them down and everything and that sort of thing. That's fine. But there's going to come a point in the tournament, whether it's in the sectional, district, regional, wherever, that you're going to have to give the ball to your best player, and he's going to have to create, and he's going to have to make a shot. They have that player. They have a couple of them, but, they've got probably the premier player in the area to do just that. So that's why he's such a matchup problem. And there will come a time in the tournament where it's going to be a 2-point game, 4-point game, whatever, and they're going to have a shot. Things are breaking down a little bit. Do you have someone that you can give the ball to that you trust enough that's going to get the shot? And they do.
And let's not discount the hunger factor. They've been stopped in the regional semifinals in some heart-stopping fashion. This is a group that's hungry to go beyond that and make it to Dayton.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. These are kids that were there as freshmen, as sophomores, as juniors, and it's been, on the precipice of getting to that next level. Is this the year? Possibly. They're ranked number 1 right now.
Whoever comes out of the Defiance district gets whoever comes out of the Wapakoneta district. New Bremen is the 1 seed. Antwerp...
Yeah. They remember that. They remember them very well.
Spencerville is the 2 seed, but then again, come on, it's a district that's loaded with the MAC. I just grabbed number 8 seed St. Henry. Would anybody be shocked to see 8 seed St. Henry at a regional?
Again, the games that I've done through the years, and I'm sure that you've seen your fair share of MAC teams and the basketball tournament, you'll get down there, you'll get to maybe the district final or something like that, and you match up, or even in this case it would be a regional semi, maybe come in with a record of like 15-7, 14-8, and you think, but they're so competitive. Yeah. They're all so athletic. You catch them on a night when they're shooting the ball well, they're very physical. Those are teams that you have to keep an eye on.
So those are the matchups there, and then the other part of D4 is the Elida versus the Findlay district. Moving to Division 3, a couple of districts to talk about. One that feeds into the Toledo area and one feeds into the Lima/Elida area. Toledo Eastwood is the 1 seed. Bruce Smith has Swanton going this year, a top 10 team in the AP poll. They're the number 2 seed. And Archbold, a 3 seed. They just lost in overtime to Evergreen last night. Other local teams that are there, Delta plays Otsego, Liberty Center plays Ottawa Hills, Evergreen plays Maumee Valley Country Day, and MVCD has been up this way, playing Eden most recently. And those are your area teams to keep an eye on.
Here's a quick side note for you. Bruce Smith, yep. Swanton head coach. Of course, he spent some time up at Whitmer and went to he was my freshman basketball coach at Napoleon High School.
So let me guess. So late 80s or mid to late 80s. Did he
really late 80s?
Did he leave there for the Delta job then?
I think so, if I remember right.
I was thinking he was.
You got to remember, when you're a freshman, we didn't even understand really who the teams were in our league, because remember, and this is not to get off subject too much, but when I was at Napoleon in junior high, we didn't play the teams in the GLL at the time, the Whitmers, the Bedfords, the Northviews, the Clays, Fostoria. We played we were basically an NWOAL school, and then when you get into your freshman year, then you start playing them. I never heard of as a freshman, I never heard of Fostoria, Clay, Bedford, or anything like that. So
you mean you didn't watch film on Huddle?
We didn't watch. No, we didn't watch film on Huddle. And the reel-to-reel was broken, so we weren't able to watch too much film.
So teams here, obviously Eastwood's the 1. But Swanton, Archibald, or anybody else that maybe could sneak through and find a path out?
That's the one that you're looking forward to, I think, if things would play out seeding-wise. And obviously, Genoa, Cardinal Stritch, those are teams that have had some tournament success in the past. But Swanton, Archibald, that would be a nice little, that would be a district. A district semi.
Yep.
I think that's one to keep an eye. Archibald is just seems like you're playing with fire with them right now, because they had so much sickness. They had the injury to DJ Newman. He's back now. I know they lost in overtime, I think, last night to Evergreen. And that's a team you just don't want to mess with, because you just would figure it sooner or later they're going to start firing on all cylinders. Swanton, those are hard, gritty-nosed kids, and Coach Smith, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and they've had a tremendous year so far. They're the leaders in the NWOAL right now. That's feeding through Toledo. Some more local teams that'll be in the Lima district, where OG is the 1 seed, led by a terrific player in Colin White. The 2 seed in that district is
Wayne Trace, I believe.
Trace, yeah, and then Bluffton's the 3 seed. So other teams that are there, Fairview's a 9, Tenora's an 11, Paulding's a 10. That's a real, in my opinion, the only other team that might be lurking would be, again, you'd look at a 12 seed Coldwater, because it's just MAC, but I think this is really top heavy. I think this is destined for OG, Wayne Trace, district final.
Now they've met, the last few years in the postseason, and Ottawa Glandorf has had some success out there. The team that I would keep an eye on, and I'm sure that they are down in Haviland, is Bluffton. They're very capable. They get after it defensively, and they can score. And Wayne Trace, we know, that can score. That would be a district semi, I believe, out there. So I always find it interesting that you got 3 GMC teams that are down in that district, and 2 of them are going to play each other, and the winner's going to play the other GMC. So at least they try to stick together a little bit. That Fairview-Tenora first-round game will be entertaining, because we know the history that they've had. I remember just as many football playoff games that we've done in the past with those 2. We've had basketball games with them, but yeah, it's Ottawa Glandorf, Wayne Trace, but don't count out Bluffton.
Okay, I'll take OG and give you the district. Would you take that bet?
Yeah, well, I'd be a fool to, I think, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Antwerp's been beaten once. And it wasn't a fluke.
No.
Wayne Trace is good.
They are good.
They are a little bit young, but they've got, not that they're totally, again, it's a 1-game thing.
I know.
One night.
I know.
You go out there 16. And you hit shots, The other team isn't it, and we've said exactly.
18.
How many times have you talked to a coach and they'll tell you, like, you get them off the tape and everything, and then you're like, okay, how's it going? And like dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, how can you tell from day to day what you're going to get out of them sometimes? It takes one night, you get in foul trouble, maybe you're not shooting the ball, and Wayne Trace is as capable as anyone. They get on a roll.
I know I can say this. There are two guys that are pleased this year that there's not going to be a long trip to where would that sectional be?
I think that's Miller City.
You don't have, you and LK don't have that drive.
And it's always like the late game, and the first one goes double overtime.
And let's face it, 4 hours pinned in with LK is
in
like
a vehicle.
It's like a steel cage death match. At least you're driving, because if he's driving,
it'd be a 6-hour trip there and back,
like the Grand Marshal in the Rose Bowl parade.
Mother Teresa behind the wheel.
So Ada District. The number 1 seed there. This is a WBL heavy district. Defiance is the 1. St. Mary's is the 2. Wapak is the 3. And Van Wert is the 4. I mean, the only non-team, Napoleon's not in the WBL, Bryan's not in the WBL, and Wasion's not in the WBL. Everybody else in that Ada district, WBL schools.
5, 6, 7, Shawnee, Napoleon, Wasion. You could make an argument that those 3, any of those could get out to the district.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how deep this district is. And the one thing I've known through the years, when you get those Western, they know each other so well. No one's going to be intimidated by anyone else. No one's going to be scared. No one's going to be out-schemed. It's just going to be a matter of who can execute. And I think there's a lot of balance in this district. This may be the hardest district of all the ones in our immediate area to kind of handicap a little bit, because there's so many. You could make an argument 6, 7, 8 teams could make a little run.
When's the last time that Defiance and Napoleon, which this would be a sectional final, that has it been a while that they've played in the postseason?
They played in the tournament.
Because a very real possibility, and Napoleon win over Elida gets them there.
They could. I think it's been a while, because I think Napoleon used to go up north, because Wasion used to go up north, and they used to go that way in the Western Buckeye League, and so they wouldn't match up until they get to the regionals. So I think it's been a while. That'd be a fun one to do.
You know, here's something that I'm surprised with, and maybe you are too. So last year, in the beginning year of when we came back from playing in COVID, it was home sites. And Northwest Ohio is one of the last quadrants of the state that doesn't do that anymore. I thought for sure, I don't know where you stand on this, I thought last year, home site, higher seed, that's the door that's opening, and we're sticking with this forever. Are you a little surprised?
I was a little surprised too, and we had talked about that before, that I thought that once they made that switch for COVID and everything, that they weren't going to go back. I thought that was the way for, all the sports. I mean, we've seen that a little more in the spring with baseball and softball a little bit, but I was very surprised, to be honest. And I think part of the reasoning is because Northwest Ohio is different from the other parts in the state for a lot of reasons. But when it comes to high school sports, they follow more, they travel more. You go over to, say, Northeast. I mean, not that high school isn't big over there, but it's different. I mean, because you got Cleveland, you got Cincinnati, you've got bigger, bigger markets. This is it. We don't have a pro sports team in our area. We've got BG, UT a little bit, Defiance College, if you will. These games mean something. Communities follow. So I think, for a tournament site in, Northeast Ohio or Southwest Ohio, maybe doesn't draw like it does. So you go down to Defiance, those games will be packed. And I think that might have had something to do with it, that, they're thinking that it's about revenue.
We're at the end of a 2-year cycle too, so it'll be interesting how they, that's in the news right now, the redrawing of maps. It'll be interesting to see how they redraw and where teams land, and will there be the influx of the Toledo area schools, which has been happening here in the Division 4 district in particular for boys basketball. And then on the girls side for Division 4, it's more of a migrant from the south, where you have Crestview, Ottoville, Trace all feeding into the district. It'll be interesting when we get to a new cycle where those teams land. And some of those schools, Montpelier is going to be a good example of a girls team that's a D3 right now that will be D4, I think, most certainly next year.
And I think it was a few years ago when Ayersville made their run in football. They were over by like 2 kids from a Division 6 to a 7. So, I mean, and I understand that those things factor in when they do their redistricting and they send them. But we all remember what happened when LeBron James was at Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. I mean, that's clearly a Northwest Ohio team, and 2 years in a row they got shipped to the Northwest Ohio Regional over here, which, made absolute no sense.
And they were one of his years, were they not D3?
Yeah, the first year.
Yeah.
Because they beat Wayne Trace in the state semis.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Al Welch, I think one of his last years down at Wayne Trace.
Because St. Vincent St. Mary's has D3 school written all over it, doesn't it? Yeah.
But LeBron and them, they were freshmen. Yeah. Drew Joyce, Romeo Travis, you remember those names?
Oh, yeah.
And it was a game, if I remember right, Wayne Trace was down by like 6. And I can still remember it. We sat there right at midcourt and watched it. The Denning kid for the point guard got a steal and went up for a shot and just got totally clocked. No call. They go down, hit a dunk, place goes nuts, 8 points, 10 points, ball game was over. But yeah, they had no business being Division III. And then you can talk to the people down in Putnam County, Ottawa, Glandorf, they weren't happy. Those were 2 years that they beat OG at the regional, that OG had a good enough team, the Pilots boys, to get down to state. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a fun ride. I do know that.
They just listen to us. It'd be so much easier. And,
we've got to pencil in. We know how the brackets are going to. That's the beauty. It's the ultimate reality show, isn't it? Reality TV.
Oh, absolutely.
It's sports itself, and then you throw, as you said, teams into the equation, and this is where some upsets have that possibility.
Again, it's one night. You don't have to beat a team 4 out of 7 times. You don't have to win a series. It's one night. Every team, I've told you this probably I'm blue in the face and you're probably sick of hearing it. Every team will have at least one night where everything works. And every team will have one night during the year where everything you can't do anything without, you walk, you fall down. What's to say one of these teams, it can happen.
We're looking forward to it starting. Next Wednesday is Edgerton Fayette. Then on Thursday, girls basketball, it will be a trip to BG. Montpelier at 19-3 right now, or 18-3 right now, trying to get to 19-3. They'll play Liberty Center at BG High School. That'll be a first. 29 years doing this. I haven't been to BG High School for anything. What am I walking into?
Well, I can't say, but I can tell you what you would have been doing. And here's another story. And if you want to cut me off, just go ahead and cut me off once we start telling stories. So it's a new gym now.
Yeah.
The old gym, it used to be like a booth suspended behind one of the baskets on the end of the gym. And you had a ladder that you would walk up to get up to this booth up there. It was really small. And you were literally right behind the basket. And then when the game started, they took the ladder down for safety purposes. So you're up there by yourself.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, and for someone that's afraid of heights, I mean, I just got how are we supposed to get down? And
so you had to go up. You had no other option.
Defiance would play there. And so, yeah.
I would have never gotten Rick Heisler up there. Never. He just would have avoided that.
He would have just sat over on the side and just phoned in his reports.
That's exactly right. He'd have never done that game.
But from what I understand now, very beautiful gym, and I'm sure they accommodated a little more.
I would hope.
Than they
don't have anything set for Saturday of that girls' first week because we're waiting to see how Wednesday, Thursday play out. You and I on Tuesday the 22nd, I believe is the date, Tuesday the 22nd, we will be in Bryan for Eden and Edgerton, that 7 o'clock game. And then on night 2, just the Hicksville North Central game, which is the early game at 5:30. And then we'll wait and see how that plays out for deep. And then you can hear the Division II, the Bryan Shawnee game, and Bryan girls basketball with Defiance on our sister station, 96.5. Fun time of the year. You and I talked how, late January, early February, I said to you, how you doing? Well, I got the late basketball season blahs right now. But then I think really that snowstorm, it re-energized. You had a couple of nights off, and now, boom, it's full bore ahead now.
Well, I always said that January is the longest month of the year for doing what we do because it's just 31 days. You get through the holidays, it's winter, it's cold, and no matter what happens, you still got a full month of this left. You get into February, you get the Super Bowl, you get the tournament draws, and you snap the fingers, suddenly you're at district and regional, and it's almost over. And I think for a lot of the kids and the coaches out there, especially the seniors, you hope that it's starting to click. Like, I've only got 3 or 4 more of these left, and so it goes fast.
Sure does. Goops, thanks for being with me tonight.
Hey, good seeing you. Absolutely.
To a broadcast game on Friday night. Adam and I have Pettisville at Stryker. Stryker can play the role of spoiler. A Pettisville win means they would share a BBC title with somebody at least. North Central in play, Eden still in play as well. Thanks to Nick Ramos for being our guest tonight as well. Remember, 2 weeks off because we have tournament basketball, as we noted, the next 2 Wednesdays. Sports Weekly will return here to JJ Wins that first Wednesday of March. It's brought to you by JJ Wins, Terry Hendricks Ford, Amerimade Realty, the main stops of Northwest Ohio, and the Bryan Parks and Rec Department. We'll take another quick break, and then it's more rock next here on B-Rock.